Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Yura and we are back in Rush Duel Links for a brand new box drop. I just hit my foot pedal like 3 different times to be excited and it's because I am! Oh my god! We haven't had like an actual Rush mini box in what feels like forever. We just kept getting deck build sets, and don't get me wrong, I liked the decks that came out of that, but god, it feels good to have an actual new box with a bunch of new cards that isn't exactly just like 6 or 9 in the case of the maximum. And today, we've got a bit of a double feature for you. So mostly what we're talking about today is the new Red Eyes support. And it's pretty good. It's really, really good. It's the stuff that I was really hoping we would get with the first wave of Red Eyes, that being the Meteor Dragon stuff. Because these cards are awesome. They're so much fun to play around. It gives Red Eyes this kind of like combo deck potential, and it's a lot of fun to mess with, but that's not what we're talking about today. So Red Eyes in Rush is weird. It's kind of similar to how they are in TCG, where they have a bunch of different like sub themes going on with them. Rush has the Meteor Dragon stuff, the Black Skull Dragon stuff, and like the Maximum stuff, which I don't even know how that fits into anything. But a lot of this can actually be tied together into one coherent deck because of their fusion spell and a number of other cards that we just kind of don't have yet. But Meteor Flare Fusion is kind of the glue that is holding everything together in Rush Duel Links, and by extension, Rocket Medic, who gets Meteor Flare Fusion back. Specifically, Meteor Flare Fusion is a fusion spell for no requirements that lets you fusion summon by sending 2 monsters from your hand and or field to the graveyard as material, including at least 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, Summon Skull, or Meteor Dragon. And if you special summoned a non-effect monster by this effect, you can also destroy 1 card in your opponent's field. Absurdly powerful fusion spell. It doesn't let you fuse from grave, but honestly, for getting the pop and also for being what is functionally polymerization, is really, really, really good. This enables, of course, the Meteor Dragon version of the deck, which is very combo heavy, but also does something else. If I go to my funny little character here, we also have Black Skull Dragon. This is also a very viable way of playing the deck. And while the Meteor Dragon stuff is more combo oriented, this is more control focused, because we don't have the insane combo enablers that the Meteor Dragon stuff does, but we do still get to use Meteor Flare Fusion to access our pops. And also, if you saw my previous version of the Black Skull Dragon deck, we get to make really good use out of really powerful trap cards like Compulse, Executing Riding, and Shiny Shady to even out the board state. And while I think the Meteor Dragon stuff is maybe better, they're both perfectly serviceable. So if you have a playstyle that you prefer, I think both of these are perfectly solid at trying to like climb up the ladder with or enter tournaments with. They're both really cool. So similarly to how I do all of my deck profiles, we're gonna go top to bottom, talk about the card by card. But because there's 2 different versions of these cards and I don't really want to make 2 different deck profiles, we're gonna do both of them in the same video and then cover their duels afterwards. So I'm going to split these into like chapters as I normally do, and they'll all be labeled. So if you just want to see one version of the deck or the other, you're free to just skip around and do it like that. I am going to start out with the brand new stuff, the Meteor Dragon stuff, because it has the most new things going for it. And it's also just like the version of the deck that I think is really, really fun. I really like the Black Skull Dragon deck. I really do. But there is something about just getting to activate Meteor Drake multiple times per turn that just feels like something special. So top to bottom, let's start out with Meteor Black Rising. This can be activated from turn 2 onward by revealing a Red Eyes Black Dragon or Meteor Dragon from your hand if all level 5 or higher monsters in your constructed deck are Red Eyes Black Dragon, Meteor Dragon, and or Meteor Drake. And for an effect, you can add a Red Eyes Black Dragon, Meteor Dragon, or Meteor Flare Fusion card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Each card is a once per duel. Now, the benefit of playing this version of the deck over the Black Skull version of the deck is that we do actually get to search out the fusion spell through the skill, which is so unbelievably strong. I don't even think I have to put into words why it's so good. The Black Skull version has to mostly rely on either just hard ripping it or using the Change Slime, which we are still on in here. It's just more ways to fusion. But the Black Skull version, that's like its main way of searching through it. And being able to search out Meteor Flare Fusion is kind of what I think puts this version of the deck a little bit higher up on the tier list. That said, we are still running a good handful of cards that appear in the Black Skull Dragon version. We're on 3 Red Eyes Moon Dragon, who is just a name changer for Red Eyes Black Dragon. Meteor Drake is a new card. We'll come back to him momentarily. Change Slime Skull Dragon mode still does make an appearance here because it is still copies 4 and 5 of a fusion spell, which, given our Meteor Black Dragon is just a really big guy, it's pretty solid. We're also on 3 Legendary Magician to recycle our Red Eyes Black Dragon because it will be going to the graveyard a lot more often in this version, believe it or not, because we just have so many ways of getting things into the graveyard and back into the hand. It's kind of nuts. And also because in this version, we can't actually search out Moon Dragon. So if we're missing a Red Eyes name for our fusion plays, we're going to have to search out the legend monster. So it feels better to have more copies of Legendary Magician here than it would in the Black Skull Dragon version. That's kind of it for cards that were in the Black Skull Dragon version, apart from exactly Shiny Shady. The rest of these cards are all new and they are all really, really sick. We're going to start off with Meteor Drake, which is probably the best card in the deck that isn't exactly like one of the fusions or the fusion spell. And it's really not hard to see why. This is a level 5 Earth Dragon with 1800 attack and 1000 defense. If you have no monsters on your field, you can special summon this card from your hand face up to your field. Really unbelievable effect already. And for a no requirement, you can functionally do Rising Hero Argent things, where you can excavate the top 4 cards of your deck, then add a Meteor Dragon or an excavated Meteor Flare Fusion to your hand, and then place the other cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Its searching is a little more restricted than something like Argent, but we're on 3 copies of Meteor Dragon and 3 copies of Meteor Flare Fusion. The likelihood that you're just going to completely whiff is actually really not that high. And if you are whiffing, don't worry, there's a ways of continuing your plays regardless. And we'll get to that shortly. We're on 2 copies of the Change Slime Skull Dragon mode. As I've already mentioned, it's copies 4 and 5 of our fusion spell, 3 Legendary Magician, of course. 3 Rocket Medic, which is one of our new cards. You can place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck in order to add a Meteor Dragon or a Meteor Flare Fusion from your graveyard to your hand. This is why the search effect on the skill for the fusion spell being once per duel is actually really not that bad, because we can recycle it from our graveyard. And Rocket Medic is also just like, it's got like fine stats. 13-13 is really not that bad. You're probably not going to die to piercing here. It's pretty all right. Another new card, we've got Meteor Dragon's chick. I love him. Just look, he's a little guy. He's just a little orb. He's so cute. Level 1 Earth Dragon, very similar to Black Dragon's chick, except for the fact that it's way better. During the turn you normal summon this card, you can add an Earth attribute Dragon type monster with 1800 attack from your graveyard to your hand. Very simple effect, and is the way you will be activating multiple Meteor Drakes per turn, in addition to one of the fusions that we'll get to momentarily. Being able to recycle Meteor Drake to just rip the excavate again after you bottom the cards that you already whiffed is really, really good. You can see 12 cards off the top of your deck in a turn, and it's really not that uncommon to do. This card is ridiculous, not having any kind of once per turn on it, apart from the soft once per turn of being on the field. This card can get off the board and then back onto the board in so many different ways that it kind of doesn't matter. You will be finding something off of the top of your deck, unless you are extremely unlucky like I am. We're on the vanillas, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, of course, because it's the only thing we're allowed to run, being a legend monster. 3 Meteor Dragon, because it's a fusion material and we find it off of multiple different things. 1 Pot of Greed, better in this version of the deck than the Black Skull version, I think, because this is a combo deck. You want to see more cards in your hand more often, so the more the merrier. We're on 3 Meteor Flare Fusion, of course, it's the best card in the deck. 2 Meteor Dragon's Nails, which is a really interesting card. This came from what is it, a drop event or something? I don't remember. It was like a bingo thing. Not a bingo, it was some like PvE event that showed up. This card's shockingly pretty good, but also, like, I think as this deck evolves, it might fall out of favor because it does do one thing, and that one thing is pretty okay, but like, there are ways around it. I'll just read the card and I'll explain afterwards. Meteor Dragon's Nails is an equip spell that can equip to 1 face-up Earth, Fire, or Dark attribute Dragon type monster on your field. The equipped monster will gain 300 attack. Also, if it is a non-effect fusion monster, it gains an additional 700 attack and cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. So it turns your monster into a towers, but it's kind of like the worst towers of all time. There are multiple ways of dealing with this card, whether it's like Curse of the Rising Light or the new executee trap. I think like capture can deal with it. Basically anything that will return to deck, bounce to hand, flip face down. That isn't exactly shady, because if it's on a non-effect monster, it can't do that. There are ways of getting around this that aren't exactly destruction effects. That said, it does kind of drive widespread further into irrelevancy. So, you know, take that as you will. Card's fine. It's not searchable. It's not recyclable. It's just like, it turns your Meteor Black Dragon into a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon that can't be destroyed by card effects. It's fine. Like, it's a fine card. Trap lineup, we've got 1 trap hole. This could be a lot of things, I'm gonna be real. Widespread, I just kind of shat on it, but like, it's not terrible here, shockingly. The Legend trap lineup is really strange right now because there's a lot of decks that don't really care about trap hole. There's a lot of decks that don't really care about widespread. If you want to play a better one like Compulse or Negate Attack, you got to give up the Pot of Greed, which I think is just kind of actively incorrect for this version of the deck. But who knows, maybe I'm just completely wrong. You can also play Nobody Phantom Thief, which is a new bundle card, but I think this is actually better in the Black Skull version because this version of the deck is very capable of just spitting out a bunch of bodies on the board and just leaving them there to just kind of sit. Very similarly to Executing Riding, better in the other version of the deck than this one. Double Shiny Shady because, believe it or not, despite this deck being really solid, it does hit a lot of the other decks in the format that are pretty good. And 1 new trap card that is for the archetype Meteorite Fall. I do kind of love this art. It makes Meteor Dragon look like a little chibi guy. He's just kind of like cute. I don't know why he looks so different than this art, but look, I think he's a little cute. I want to give him like little head pats. And it reads, when your opponent's monster declares an attack while you have 3 or more dragon type monsters in your graveyard, the attacking monster loses 1,000 attack at the end of this turn, which is a big step up over some of the other battle traps we've had over the history of Rush Duel Links. And then, as an addition, you can set a Meteor Flare Fusion from your graveyard to your spell and trap zone. That additional effect, I think, is the main reason to play this card. It is both a combat trick and it lets you get your combo set up for next turn, which is unbelievably powerful. Onto the extra deck, which I think is where most of the big power resides. We're on Meteor Black Dragon for the non-effect fusion monster thing for the Meteor Flare Fusion, also because he's really big and gets even bigger with Meteor Dragon's nails. We're on Meteor Swarm Dragon, which is the other way other than Meteor Dragon's Chick that you're going to be recycling through your Meteor Drake. This is a fusion of Meteor Dragon and Meteor Drake. And for no requirement, you can special summon an Earth Attribute Dragon type monster with 1800 attack from your graveyard to your field with face-up defense position. Targets for this obviously being both of its fusion materials, Meteor Drake or Meteor Dragon. And because Meteor Drake doesn't have the requirement of needing to be on the turn you normal summoned it, you can use its effect again and again and again and again forever and ever, so long as you keep summoning it. It's really, I cannot overstate how crazy this card is. We're also on Meteor Black Drake, which is a fusion of Red Eyes Black Dragon and Meteor Drake. It is a kind of an effect monster version of Meteor Black Dragon, which is like fine. Black Drake is, if you have a Meteor Flare Fusion in your graveyard, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Then for an effect, this card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is really, really solid protection. It turns off Hammer Shot. It turns off a good chunk of just like some random effects. And then also, if you have 2 or more Meteor Flare Fusions in your graveyard, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent. Overall, this deck has a lot of tools going for it, and it is really not hard to see why it is performing well in tournaments. I think this list and lists like it are unbelievably fun to pilot, and they really show their power. But of course, that is not the only list we're talking about today. That said, if you only want to see the Meteor Dragon version of the deck, there is a chapter down below that will show you where the Meteor Dragon games take place if you just want to go there. But for anyone that wants to stick around for the other deck, let's hop over and check out what Black Skull Dragon's doing. Okay, so Black Skull Dragon is a really cool deck, and I do love it. We're on the old skill, Black Skull Rising. If you've seen my previous video on this deck, not much has changed, except for the fact that a lot has changed. We're going to get to it. The deck still plays functionally the same that it used to, just with a lot more power in its plays and more ability to spit out big bodies without needing such a crazy amount of investment, but it still does kind of want to sit on some back row and a big guy, which, yeah, it's fine. That's okay. For anyone that didn't see my previous video, I am still going to go top to bottom. We're going to talk about the skill, talk about each of the individual cards, and then we'll move on from there. So Black Skull Rising, for anyone that is unfamiliar, is the old Red Eye skill, not the old one, because that one is bad. We don't talk about that one. Black Skull Rising lets you reveal a Red Eyes Black Dragon, Summon Skull, or change Slime Skull Dragon mode from your hand from turn 2 onward if all the level 5 or higher monsters in your constructed deck are Red Eyes Black Dragon and Showdown Skull Archfiend. For an effect, you can add 2 level 7 monsters from around Red Eyes Moon Dragon and or change Slime Skull Dragon mode from your deck to your hand, then send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Now, what I just said doesn't make any sense, and I covered this in the last Black Skull Dragon video. This skill, for some god knows why reason, is worded like someone was like having brain death while they were writing it. What this effect actually reads, you can add 2 level 7 monsters and or Red Eyes Moon Dragon or Change Slime Skull Dragon mode. The Red Eyes Moon Dragon and Chain Slime Skull Dragon mode are not level 7s. I do not know why it's worded like that. It basically just means you could search in any combination of 2 these 4 cards. That's it. That's what it reads. It's a very simple consistency skill. And then you have to send a card from your hand to the graveyard, which, you know, whatever. Still a really solid skill. It's very good for consistency. The major downside is that you can't search Meteor Flare Fusion, but we've got ways of finding it just over the course of multiple turns. But that is one of the main reasons why we are on 3 Change Slime Skull Dragon mode, because it is our main searchable way of fusing into our big boss monster, Black Skull Dragon, or as I like to refer to it in this game as Bull Ol Draga, because for some reason they decided to not color the name, so it just is unreadable. Thanks, Konami. Well, let's go through the actual monsters that make the deck what it is. Showdown Skull Archfiend is here because we cannot play Summon Skull because both it and Red Eyes are legend monsters. Showdown Skull Archfiend becomes Summon Skull while it is in the hand or graveyard. Then you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard in order to change its name to Summon Skull, and then special summon a level 7 or lower normal monster from your graveyard face up to your field. That's always going to be Red Eyes. It is the only target in the deck, but like in theory, you could play like a Summoned Skull only deck, I guess, if you wanted to do that. I don't recommend it. It doesn't do anything, but you know, do what you want. I can't stop you. We're on 3 Red Eyes Moon Dragon, who is just a name changer for Red Eyes Black Dragon. Change Slime Skull Dragon mode, who is a fusion guy who just sends himself into the field of the graveyard in order to fusion summon a monster that mentions Summon Skull or Red Eyes Black Dragon as material by sending cards from the hand or field to the graveyard. We're on 3 Legendary Magician because we will be searching out and ditching the Red Eyes Black Dragon for multiple different reasons, and getting it back off of Legendary Magician while also excavating a card to the graveyard is pretty solid. We're on 3 Rocket Medic to get back our 3 copies of Meteor Flare Fusion, because, you know, it's a pretty good card. I'd say it's pretty good. Our legend spell of choice here is the Pot of Avarice instead of the Pot of Greed, because while this deck will also be filling its graveyard, it doesn't need like the immediate Pot of Greed effect. It can wait a little bit and we can use Pot of Avarice, but also because this deck kind of struggles at putting up the same amount of pressure that the Meteor Dragon build does. So we want to make room for a better legend trap to kind of stifle our opponent's plays a little bit better than trying to field something like a Trapple or a Widespread, which is not always online. So we're on Compulse instead. We're also on the 2 copies of Meteor Dragon's Nails, just like we are in the Meteor Dragon version, because it turns Black Skull Dragon into a 4200 undestructible monster. That's pretty solid. And then double Curse of the Rising Light because card draw is good, and this deck does have a tendency to get interrupted if you get like Shiny Shaded on the Change Slime. So we do have some ways to work around it. I do think adding Meteor Flare Fusion to this deck also helps circumvent this problem, but like Curse is still a really solid card, especially for a deck that kind of needs a little bit more help to get its gears turning. We're on the 1 previously mentioned Compulse because good card. Double Executing Riding, good here and not in the Meteor Dragon build, because this deck will more often than not actually only end up with 1 or 2 monsters left on its board, and that leaves open space for riding, which is really, really potent. It also helps us not die to some big game pushes because the 1800 attack shrink is really good, and it just helps us keep it in the game. It's pretty solid. Reviving a Red Eyes can also get you fusion material for the later turn. It's solid all around. Triple copies of Shiny Shady. This could maybe go down to 2 if you want to find like maybe another riding slot or something, but I've been liking Shady. I think it's fine into the current meta. There are still things to hit even in the Red Eyes decks that are going to be summoning a bunch of normal monsters, and it's good into the rest of the field too. So I would overall say it's pretty solid include. And then we're also on the 3 copies of the Black Skull Dragon. We don't have the other version of Black Skull, the Summoned Skull variant. So we just got the vanilla, and honestly, kind of all you need. It's fine. But with that said, this was a much shorter version than the Meteor Dragon one because these cards have been in the game for a while and they're all fairly simple. So let's see them in action. All right, game time. I won't lie, I loaded into the GRF to run some games there, and I loaded into against someone on the starter deck with the Rush on 7's Road skill, and props to them, good luck. But that does not make for super enjoyable video experience, I think. So we're back on the ranked ladder. And I'm excited to see what this deck can do. I unfortunately seem to have opened one of the worst hands I've ever seen this deck produce. Maybe the draw off the top does it? There's a lot that does. That does technically kind of do it. We're going to find out. Unfortunately, I can't get Meteor Drake here, which is kind of the thing that I need to get. This doesn't do anything, actually. That doesn't do shit. I guess we get Meteor Flare Fusion just to get it into rotation. Yeah, wow, this does nothing. The trap isn't even online here, so that's not great. Set normal summon Red Eyes Black Dragon. Activate Meteor Dragon Nails. Set. Like, I don't know what you want from me. This hand sucked. Maybe we don't die. I doubt it, but you know, who knows? Maybe we'll be okay. I don't have a lot of faith. That really does not inspire faith. Oh, hi, Magical Stream. What are we hitting here? Oh, the trap that wasn't online? That's fine by me. It's okay. I'm fine. Pot of Greed comes down. Yes, chef. You got it, dog. Master Excel. Yeah, add 2 cards to your hand. I'm okay. Everything's fine. The Meteor Dragon fears no spellcasters. Surely, right? This will be fine, right? This will be it's not going to be fine, y'all. I'm so afraid. They're going to add Seven's Road and Fusion to their hand. See where we go from here. They're going to send the Strange Cat to make a Strange Witch online. That's a very good play. You can now summon back the Witch and add the They don't have Fusion in the graveyard. But they can go Witch Effect, pitching a card from hand to summon out the Seven's Road Magician and then make Strange Witch. Or not Strange Witch. You know what I'm talking... The Fusion. Wait, you know what I'm talking about. Here comes Fusion. Not dead here, but we are going to take a billion damage. Charmy Witch, her. I haven't played this deck in so long, I keep forgetting what her name is. They're going to mill and send a Seven's Road to the graveyard. That's kind of unfortunate for them. Do they have a way to kill me? Roadstar. Magician Effect. Uh-oh. That's bad. Maybe we're not dead? I doubt it. But who knows? Maybe. Then the Buffered Slime. That's pretty good. Oh, that's exact lethal. They don't even have to pierce. That's exact game. Well, sometimes the deck breaks. Sometimes it happens. Let's go one more. All right, Maddox. Hello. What do you got for me? Is it the maximum? It's probably the maximum. Hand looks fine. Shockingly, hand does actually look fine. We're gonna set, and set. And then we're gonna leave the Meteor Dragon in hand for the skill for next turn. Let's see what they got. I do think it is maybe worth cutting the Meteor Dragon's nails the more that I play with this deck. It is definitely the maximum. Okay. They're going to send the Thunder piece to draw 2. Do they have the pieces necessary in hand to make the maximum? Those are pretty good mills. Those are pretty unbelievable mills. They're going to draw 2, so they don't have it yet. But it will likely be live next turn. Here comes Flame Ruler. Normal summons out the Chromatographagus. I have not seen this guy in this deck yet. Structure Force on the Chromatographagus is very funny. He's going to get big. Can't be destroyed by card effects. Does protect it from the Meteor Flare Fusion effect. But I think we're going to be fine. I do not fear this board whatsoever. And that helps pretty significantly. Let's go Meteor Black Rising. We'll reveal here. I think we're actually going to get the next Meteor Flare Fusion. Let's flip you up. We'll go Meteor Flare Fusion into you. Fusing off you on field and you in hand for Meteor Black Dragon. How big is this? I think he maxes out at 31. So we're just going to pop this back row. I feel very good about doing that. We're going to flip you up. We'll go Meteor Drake over you. because I do want to get excavating. Nope. 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 Wow. Really? Really? Balatro ass mills. Are you kidding me? All right. Meteor Flare Fusion again. Let's get into our Meteor Swarm Dragon. Fusing these off to make a 2600 guy. Meteor Swarm Dragon effect is going to activate. We're going to summon back the Meteor Drake. Meteor Drake effect is going to go again. Find Meteor Flare Fusion, Rocket Medic, Red Eyes Black Dragon, and Meteor Dragon. Honestly, some really solid hits here. We are going to get the third Meteor Flare and then put these guys back. And then we'll set Shady and Shady in case one gets popped. Shady's kind of a dead card here because of the maximum, but they will simply just not find it. I don't think that's the case because I'm pretty sure they already have it, given their graveyard setup and what they already have in their hand. So I would not be surprised if they just went for the skill here and then got the maximum online. This is one of those instances where the equip spell is actually really not that bad because it can protect from the Vocalized Phoenix. Like, I don't actually think Vocalized Phoenix has a good way of getting over it except for popping the back rows. I could Shiny Shady my own monsters here. I'm not going to. They're going to pop my entire board anyway. Go Piercing. I don't think we die here under any circumstances, though. They're probably going to pop both of my fusions here. Yep, there goes the Meteor Black Dragon and the Meteor Swarm, I assume. They're going to try to pierce over the Meteor Drake. They got a back row, but no way of adding my back row, which currently doesn't really do anything, so it's fine. Let's see if we can find a way into our skill. Not really in a way that matters currently. Let's go Meteor Drake. Reveal, 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 reveal. Not being able to add that Moon Dragon is really bad here. We can go Meteor Dragon's Chick. But it's not really going to do enough for us. We can add back the Meteor Dragon and like make a Meteor Swarm. Oh, we can go Meteor Black Rising. What am I talking about? Get the Red Eyes Black Dragon. Oh, yeah, we're fine. What the hell am I talking about? We're fine. We can go Meteor Flare here to make Meteor Black Dragon using U and U. We're going to use this effect to pop the Vocalized Phoenix, set the Meteorite Fall, and go to combat. Is this game? Yes, it is. What the hell was I worried about? Meteor Black Chick is crazy. That's not its name. You know what I'm talking about. Meteor Dragon's Chick, that guy. All right. Got 1 win, 1 loss with the deck. 1 to a brick, which I think we're going to talk about after we come back to the deck profile. But let's hop over to the Black Skull Dragon ones. All right. Black Skull Dragons hitting the board once again. We're into Psychic, which is a deck that I really haven't seen all that much, but I'm very excited to be playing against. This hand is not good, but it's like fine for going first. We'll make this work. We're going to do... Ooh, this is weird, actually. Which one of you do I keep? I kind of want to keep the Avarice in hand, but like, no, we'll set it. I want to ditch the Curse of the Rising Light here, I think. There's a very real chance that we do get a way to get the Avarice online next turn. Oh, hi, Pot Agreed. All right, that's awesome. Shady is pretty good into this deck from what I remember. We could just hit the Psypic Upper. And pray to God they don't have extension past that. Or maybe they don't have anything. Who knows? Is it just 3 back row? Okay, no. Here comes a Vanilla, which we can't Shady. Infinite D Live is going to come down. It's not V-Friend. It's the old skill. Sending a Candy to the graveyard. Go combat. That is bleak for you, my friend. All right, let's draw up. Wow. Phenomenal draws. All right, let's go Black Skull Rising. We're going to reveal the Showdown Skull Archfiend and get ourselves I think 2 Change Slime Skull Dragon modes, actually. Then we're going to send... We don't have a Legendary Magician here, which is kind of unfortunate, but we don't really need the Moon Dragon or the Red Eyes. What's on the Red Eyes? Flip you up. We'll summon out the Skull Dragon mode. They don't have a response. We'll fuse off for Black Skull Dragon using guy on field and guy in hand. Nothing. Okay. So the other thing that I can do here is I can summon out these. And if they don't have a response, I can go Showdown. No, I'm not going to do that. My thought was like I could go Showdown Skull Archfiend and like revive Red Eyes. But I think I'm actually just going to fuse off for another Black Skull Dragon. I think that's probably just better. Low res bull drag. All right, let's go. Pot of Avarice. We're going to shuffle back these guys and the Rocket Medic. And I actually want to keep that. Let's do it like this. Shuffle 5 back, draw 2. Hoping to find some back row here. Those are not back rows. Those are nothing. We can normal summon that guy, I guess. It's like fine. And then we can set the Curse of the Rising Light because we have a shady target in hand. Let's go combat. No response. They're going to take an absurd amount of damage here and straight up just die unless they buffered slime. Yeah. The buffered slime was actually not protecting them from the Black Skull Dragon attacks because he's just a level 9 as opposed to the Meteor Black Dragon, which is level 8. So that's fun. Got an insane amount of damage off. They are really low on life points, so that means they might not have the ability to use their stuff. Okay, they're just gonna pass. It sucks to be them, I guess. We'll just go combat and swing in. Let's hit another one. That was a quick one. All right, here we are again into Maddox. Oh God, please tell me this is not the maximum again. Is this the same person? Am I losing my mind? Is this the same person from the Meteor Black Dragon game? I don't remember. We're gonna set the field and pass it back to them. I am perfectly content with this open. What do they got for me? This riding's not online, but like riding is significantly better in this matchup than shady is. So I would much rather find the riding than the shady. Compulse, of course, is the best thing to find here, but like, it's fine. Red Robe, Grimmerlouis. What else you got for me? Vocalized Burst Draw. It is indeed the maximum. They're going to, I assume, mill here. Actually, it might make more sense to draw. Yeah. They're going to send 2 Vocalized Phoenix and then mill the Structure Force. Set 2 and keep 1 in hand. Likely a maximum piece, but this means we get to keep one of our guys around on field. I kind of really hope it's the legendary, but that's fine. Moondragon is still fine too. All right, let's draw into any one of our guys that activates the skill. That is so many guys that activate the skill. That's not even funny. All right, let's go. Black Skull Rising. We're going to get... Ah, man, I really wanted to keep that Legendary Magician. We'll reveal the Moondragon. We'll grab the Change Slime Skull Dragon mode. And what else? I think I need another Showdown, maybe? What am I sending here? Probably the Change Slime? It's probably the Change Slime. It doesn't feel great, but it's fine. Let's go Meteor Flare Fusion for Black Skull Dragon using you on field and you in hand. We're going to blow up one of these back rows. God, I love Meteor Flare Fusion in this deck. It feels so good. Hit that Vocalized Compound. That's pretty nice. Let's go Change Slime Skull Dragon mode. Send to the graveyard to activate its effect and summon out another big guy using you and you. Black Skull Dragon number 2. And then we can go... Actually, I don't want to summon this because I want riding online. So we're just going to go combat. Swing in, swing in. Big chunk of damage here. That back row is likely a draw spell, but we are absolutely in the driver's seat here because even if they get access to their maximum, we can shrink it down so it can't get over any of our monsters. Although they probably will just have a way to like pop things, but even if they can pop 2 monsters, they will not be able to get through all 3 of them because of the riding shrink. So let's see what they got for us. We know they have 2 heads in graveyard. We need to find a left and right piece in this opening hand to do anything. They're going to send a Chemicalized Salamander and a right piece. Do they have left piece in hand? They're going to add back the middle piece and the right piece, so it's very likely that they do. Show me what you got. Here's the maximum. Down it comes, and here comes Riding. Riding is going to summon out a Showdown Skull Archfiend to shrink down you. Down to 1700, so there is no way in hell it is getting over our guys. I think even a Structure Force doesn't boost it up enough. Vocalized Phoenix effect is going to come down. They're going to pitch to burn and deal piercing, but they don't have any way of dealing damage. And they also don't have a guy engraved to make that work. Double Curse of the Rising Light, not exactly what we want to find here. That doesn't do anything for us. Let's go Black Skull Rising. And we are kind of in a really bad spot here, because we do not have a way of getting over their guy. Let's add these guys back, and then we're going to send one again. These Double Curse of the Rising Lights could be literally anything else. It would feel so much better. Yikes, this is bad. Not finding Meteor Flare Fusion here is kind of bleak. I think I am just going to have to end turn. Oh, we were in such a good position, and we just didn't find a way to capitalize on it, unfortunately, because our guys are just not big enough. The Equip spell could have done it. The Fusion spell could have done it. There was a lot that could have done it. Compost could have done it. Very unfortunate. Yep, here's Vocalized Phoenix effect. They're going to send the right piece. They don't have a left piece in graveyard, so they can't pop my monsters. Right piece is going to shuffle back and then pop our 2 back rows that aren't doing anything. The real unfortunate part here is I got 4 nothings in my hand. Structure Force is going to come down. This is going to enable them to do a huge amount of damage. And it also insulates them from our 1 major out here. We're going to go Vocalize Compound. And we are suddenly finding ourselves in a really bad position. Down comes another set. They're going to go Combat. Swing over one of our Black Skull Dragons. That's totally fine. We do have outs in deck. Oh my god. That's unbelievable. It doesn't fix the problem, but that's really good. Unfortunately, they have an answer. That's so sad. Shady is going to be the thing that kills us here, unfortunately. Damn. We got so close, too. We can still go for the Showdown Skull Archfiend here to try to clear our hand. Maybe we don't die here. We'll go Showdown Skull Archfiend, sending you Summon out Red Eyes. But I think this is maybe too little too late. Their guy is way too big. I think we are just cooked here. They still don't have a right piece in graveyard, so... Or a left piece, rather. So, unless they find it off the top here, we're sending with the middle piece. We're not dead, and there it is. Down to 1,800. I think this is lethal no matter what happens. They're going to shuffle back. Pop our big guy, and then pop the Showdown, I imagine. Down to 41. That actually does keep us alive. Sets another card, though. That could be the death knell for us. Punch in. We take 17. We survive by exactly 100. Let's see if these draws can do it. Those are unbelievable. Those are beyond crazy. Let's reveal Moondragon. We're going to find Showdown and Red Eyes. And we're going to pitch the Red Eyes again. This gets us so close. Meteor Flare Fusion. Black Skull Dragon comes down. What am I popping here? I think it's the back row. That was a dead card. We'll set Meteor Dragon's Nails. Boost our guy up to exactly enough to get over. Set Riding. Swing in. Oh my god, we are somehow alive. I cannot believe we are surviving right now. They will most likely have another maximum online, which could very well, like... Oh, they can just... If they have the maximum, they can kill us, because they can just go for the middle piece effect. Hold! Hold on! We are not dead yet, folks! Drop to 5. Meteor Flare Fusion. Black Skull Rising. Let's reveal the Change Slime. Get you and you. Actually, I want No, I want you. We'll send... Oh, God, what am I sending here? This is so hard. God, this is so weird. What am I sending here? This is so tough. I think it's the Chain Slime Skull Dragon mode. No, I hadn't needed that in hand for... I think it's the Shady. The Shady is probably the worst card in the hand. I'm out of Black Skull Dragons in deck! No! Fuck! I can't pop anything! That's so bad! Oh, no! I think we die. I think no matter what I do, I'm dead here. Oh, we were so close. We don't have a good way of getting through this board. And with Shady being, or with Riding being our only form of interaction, I don't think we have a way through this. We can go Meteor Dragon's Nails here, make our guy absolutely massive, but it's not going to matter because the second they find a way to make their maximum, we do just die on the spot. Oh, man. Really unfortunate end to this game. Maybe they don't find 2 maximum pieces. They need 2 maximum pieces to make it work. We are both fighting for our lives right now. Have I gone through Avarice already? No, there's the maximum. It doesn't matter. We can Riding here, but they have a fire in hand. Absolutely. We can summon back our Black Skull Dragon, shrink this guy down, but the second they activate that middle piece effect, the game is over. There it is. GG's. All right, let's hop back to the decks and talk about him a little bit. Okay, so we're going to start off with Meteor Dragon, and right off the bat, there are a couple of changes that I do want to make. First things first, Meteor Dragon's Nails is very win more. It's like, I wanted to try it out and I wanted to show it off in the video, but as you saw during those games, we were just kind of bricking on it when instead we could be having like, I don't know, cards that do something. And I do want at the very least make note of how the deck is evolving in tournament play, and that is by replacing them with copies of Secret Order. Secret Order is a phenomenal card here. It is genuinely so nice to have a card that lets you extend even further. And it really, like, you really don't miss the equip spell all that much. I've played with this list a little bit, and I have really been liking the changes. Additionally, the Changeline Skull Dragon modes don't really doing anything here. So having Curse in here is another thing that I have seen. I have not explicitly played with this in this list, but I do like the theory, and I do think it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that I've seen is swapping out the Meteorite Fall for something like Nobody Phantom Thief, or I think more popularly Buffered Slime to make sure that you're surviving turns. I think you could totally do that. I personally just want to keep running Meteorite Fall for a little bit because I do like the flavor of it, and I do think it's very neat. Although I think if you wanted a more competitive list, you could probably play Buffered Slime in here and see a lot more success. That said, this deck, even with these changes, does still have the tendency to produce not unplayable hands, but hands that just like don't really get you into the engine pieces that you're really looking for. And a lot of that comes down to Meteor Black Rising not being able to add a Meteor Drake as a part of its add effect. You can reveal it, and it is a part of the skill. It is a part of the skill, but it doesn't have any way of actually searching it, and it being your main consistency piece. If you don't find it over the course of like the first 2 turns, you are playing a significantly worse version of the deck than a deck that has found it. So while I do think this is the better version of the deck for sure, it is maybe a little less consistent for having a much higher power ceiling. As for Black Skull Dragon, this is... I think that final game that it played really showed off the shortcomings of this deck. Where the Meteor Dragon deck has a full extra deck to make use out of, this deck has its 3 Black Skull Dragons and its Pot of Avarice to shuffle them back, but if you don't find the Avarice in time, you don't got anything to do. Which really sucks, because I think this version of the deck is really solid, and while it does have some weird matchups like Vocalized Phoenix like you saw, it is still a very fun deck to play, and I have really been enjoying messing with it on ladder. That said, I'm actually still unsure about Meteor Dragon's Nails here, even though I think it is maybe arguably in a better spot here than it is in the Meteor Dragon deck. It's just weird, I guess. Like, it's hard to say you should play this version of the deck without this card, because I think this version of the deck absolutely needs it more than the Meteor Dragon deck because its power ceiling is so much lower. I do think you could probably make room for some more back row cards. I think the Curse of the Rising Lights really were not pulling their weight all that much. And you can instead play like Buffered Slime in here, or like another copy of Riding. You could even play like Talismanic Seal Ray if you wanted to swap the spell for another spell. There's a lot of things you could do with this list. This is just the one that I have been testing with on ladder, and I have been enjoying it, but definitely is not the final version. None of these decks are. These are all just my first impressions of the deck and how I feel I at least want to play them. But with all that said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. This is definitely probably a longer video at the very least. The recording timer here says 1 hour and 12, but that's for a couple of reasons that will get cut out of the video. Don't worry about that. We're going to be back again with another Rush Duel Links deck profile very soon. Likely either Execute, which is the deck that I have probably the most practice on in this current format, or we might do something a little different. We're not sure yet. I will probably not be covering the Wind deck. I want to be very upfront about that. I think that deck is like super not interesting. I have not been having fun with it. I know it can do like exactly one different cute thing, but I just can't care about it. Unless a new build comes out that does some cool things, I really do not see myself playing it, unfortunately. All that said though, thank you all again so much for sticking around to the end of the video, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!